Chambly Charter High School Gymnasium renaming.
All right. In accordance with Board Policy FDC and Regulation FDC R1, a committee reached out to me to formally submit a proposal to rename the Chambly Charter High School Gymnasium. Mr. Theodore Teddy Carter was a longtime coach, mentor, paraprofessional, and campus supervisor who served Chambly High School for 13 years. Mr. Carter passed away last year at the age of 58, and it is requested that the Board of Education waive the 5-year waiting period and approve the renaming of the Chambly Charter High School Gymnasium as the Coach Teddy Carter Gymnasium at Chambly. And with us today, we have the principal of Chambly High School, Dr. Norman Sauce, and a couple of members of the renaming committee, Ms. Katz and Ms. Jones. And with the board's permission, I was hoping that they would take a few seconds, maybe a minute, to tell us a little more about Coach Carter with the board's permission. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share a few words about Coach Carter. I began at Chambly in July of 2015, and Mr. Carter had already passed. But as with many communities, many school communities, you quickly learn who the really important legends are of a school community that impacted a school community in immensely positive ways. And for me, it emerged immediately that person was Coach Carter. And there was some work that was already underway prior to my arrival to be able to present this proposal before the board today. So I was not involved in that work prior to my arrival, but it became evident very quickly that he was a very important member of our school community. So our head counselor, Ms. Jones, who knew Coach Carter very well and was a part of the committee, would like to just share a few words with the board about his impact.
Thank you. Good evening, or good afternoon. Don't want to rush the day. I have a letter here from a student that it's 3 pages, so that's how much he loved Coach Carter, so I'm not going to read that. But I will summarize and say he was a shining example of what I think we need in every school in DeKalb, and we have great men like him everywhere. He was not limited to his job as a campus supervisor or a coach. He began as a paraprofessional with Ms. Katz 13 years ago. And he commanded a presence in the school unlike anyone I've ever seen. He had hawk eyes, is what I would say. He could walk down the hall and look in a classroom and see someone at the very back doing something they shouldn't do, and he'd peep in and the student would get corrected just by his presence. He could also see across the cafeteria and find a phone that shouldn't be out, and those things are missed daily. He also went above and beyond that. So from a counseling perspective, he really adopted students into his family. He had no biological children, but he always said that Chambly's 12 or 1,300 kids were his. He had a special spot in his heart for single parents and grandmothers who were raising their children. He would often partner with them and bring them to the counseling office and conference with them as the needed male figure in their lives about their academics, graduation. As an alumni of South Carolina State University, he coordinated on his own every year a trip with the Alumni Association, a field trip to South Carolina State, and he did everything from getting permission slips, getting the buses, and then he would walk students to campus and get them scholarships. And when he went back every year at homecoming at South Carolina State, he is the man that was known, and so he would check in on all the students that he had helped matriculate there in previous years. And every day we missed him. I'm sorry. Every day. Because when you look at where he sat every day in the cafeteria, and kids knew not to come through that door because he was going to be there. Or he knew everybody's car, and he would tell you if somebody was present. If the previous principal wanted to know if somebody had reported, he said, oh, I don't see their car yet. He didn't have to go check to see if they clocked in because he was that vested into the community. He was a coach, assistant coach for football and for track. He was one of the sponsors for Men of Distinction, which is one of the student organizations that help young men become men. And he worked with them to make sure they had suits and proper attire. They had days every week that they had to dress. They started an initiative where they would help the janitors and custodians custodians after school. They worked with the food banks, and that was just something that he made sure the young men in the school knew that men needed to do. And so we had a petition that had over 1,400 signatures from community members, past parents, and alumni that thought this would be fitting, because as the gym manager, he also made sure that all of our games followed DeKalb County rules. And so there was no hat wearing, because he wanted that to be a sign of respect. There was no food allowed, and he made sure that our games went along without incident. And so that's why we felt it was very fitting that the gymnasium be named after him. Even though he was not a coach, he was the gym manager, and he was so active in athletics and touched so many hearts that the community and the school really request that you honor our request. Thank you.
Very good. I'm impressed. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Yes. Mrs. Turner?
First, I want to just thank you for those wonderful comments. My only regret is that I never met him. I'm very sorry, because he sounds like the kind of individual we want in our schools to serve our children. My question is, and I hope that you understand the intention behind this. Has a precedent been set before with this kind of thing? And I ask that because as every board member is sitting here, we get emails weekly of people we have lost in the district, those who have been with us for many years, students, all those that we miss terribly. And so I want us to consider, if the precedents have been set, then that makes it a little bit simpler, because I want to be able to answer those others who maybe haven't made the call yet, Mr. Jester, but undoubtedly will, and rightly so. But I just want us to if we start something, again, sustainability, and it's nothing personal against Coach, and I'll be there if this so happens. I want to be there for the ceremony, but I do want to propose that to my colleagues.
I have an answer to that, because we did this last year, renaming the bus facility for the mechanic, that lead mechanic who had passed away, and we waived the 5-year period. So
Okay.
It would be consistent with exceptions we have made to our policy.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we have citizens that will be respected and can deliver what this gentleman has delivered. I'll vote for him anyway. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, is there any opposition to placing this item on the consent agenda for this evening? Hearing none, this item will be placed on the consent agenda for this evening.